Welcome everyone to our story time for Ostara and the spring equinox. Here you see a painting by the amazing Iluna Art, who is going to, and she's got a great Instagram page too if you want to check her out. That's Iluna with an E. And here you see Ostara with her magical hair, the origins of the Easter Bunny, and why we dye eggs this time of year. We're going to jump into that. And I'm also going to talk about why we see this figure all over the place during Easter season, during the spring equinox season, because we often see these little chickadees who show up with bunny ears. So we're going to get to the bottom of all of that today. And if you're with me live, go ahead and say hello in the comments so that I know that you're here. And we're going to sing and drum everybody in. We've got our beautiful Ostara altar in the background in shades of green. So if you'd like to light a candle with me to help me welcome in the Mother of Fire, then please do so. And if you want to sing along as everybody's making their way in, you can sing along with me. So our first chant is, Mother, I feel your heart beating. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I feel your heart beating. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Hey-ya, 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 ho. Hey-ya, 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 hey, ho. Hey-ya, 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 ho. Hey-ya, 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 hey, ho. Mother, I feel your heart beating. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I feel your heart beating. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Hey-ya, 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 ho. Hey-ya, 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 hey, ho. Hey-ya, 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 ho. Hey-ya, 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 hey, ho. Mother, I feel your heart beating. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I feel your heart beating. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Hey-ya, 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 ho. Hey-ya, 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 hey, ho. Hey-ya, 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 ho. Hey-ya, 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 hey, ho. Yes, welcome. So this is the time of year in the Northern Hemisphere where we really start to feel those green fires of springtime warming us up deep within the earth and deep within our hearts, energizing the world around us, energizing our spirit, our creativity, and especially in this time where we are seeing a big increase in the mistreatment of women and the mistreatment of marginalized groups, minority groups, the mistreatment of the earth. All these things go hand in hand. And at the equinox, we really come back into balance, right? Trying to find a balance between caring for ourselves and caring for others, a balance between the power in the world, right? Balancing it out between the genders, yes, that, but also how are we treating the earth? How are we treating the women? Because directly proportionate to how we treat women in marginalized groups is how we treat the earth. So in a patriarchal world, right, we have no problem mistreating the land and taking what we want from the land because we have a disconnect from the earth. And the same thing, we see that reflected back in our culture as well, right? There's this kind of power over structure that happens with where a very small group of people have most of the power in the world. There's less of a kind of collective healing going on in the community care, which is what, the River Valley Goddess Temple really strives to achieve and uplift. together as a community. So I always get really inspired this time of year because we are calling on the goddess Ostara, who is the goddess of fire. And fire has that power to transform us. This is a wonderful time of year to create a releasing ceremony for yourself. If you feel that there are patterns in your life, toxic dynamics, toxic relationships, toxic jobs, whatever you have going on in your life, if you find anything that is holding you back from coming into your fullness as a being in this lifetime, creating a fire ritual for yourself can be really, really powerful. And I'm going to be holding a releasing ceremony on March 28th with the full moon. Great time to do this kind of work. And the full moon is in the sign of Libra, right? Which is the zodiac of the scales, the zodiac of balance. So when I was kind of creating this ritual, it felt really, really important to honor this balancing of night and day, right? Which is what happens at the equinox, of the dark and the light, yin, yang, masculine, feminine, all of these polarities coming into balance within ourselves. So on Sunday, I'll be holding the ceremony from 3 to 4 p.m. with the full moon. And there will be a recording of that ceremony for you if you're not able to attend live. We will be doing a fire ceremony, a releasing ceremony. So cleansing, detoxing ourselves, body, mind, and spirit, so that we can vision the future we wish to see in this world, a future that does focus on community care, inclusivity, and embraces the diversity that the earth has and the diversity that our collective has. So if that sounds like something you want to attend, I'd love to have you with us. The link to register is in the temple Instagram bio right now, so for you to register for that. And if you are a person of color, being of color that would like to attend that for free, I have reserved a certain amount of tickets for our BIPOC community members as well, if you're feeling like you want a little bit of extra support at this time. So all you need to do is direct message us here and we can save your spot for you for Sunday. Now, let's jump into some of the mythology around this time of year. So the goddess Ostara, here she is, with her magical hairs. Her hairs are just very big rabbits. For those of you who are in the States who have never seen a hare before, maybe some of you out in California have seen the jackrabbits. But Ostara is often called Yoster and is also called Easter. So the word Easter, which we know it in our own United States or in westernized society, we know Easter as the Christian holiday. And the word Easter itself, even though it denotes a time of year, it's actually attached to the goddess Easter, just like Ostara is associated with the time of year around the equinox, but it's also the name of a goddess. And the mythology of Ostara goes a little something like this. So settle in as you're listening to your story, and you can get yourself comfortable, because each of these stories, these myths have medicine in them. So it can teach us a lot about what's going on in the land as the wheel turns. So Ostara is the goddess of fertility and springtime, and she sleeps deep within the earth during the winter months. So this myth comes to us from the Germanic tradition, and in the Germanic tradition, they honor Suna, the sun goddess. And when Suna goes to sleep, she takes the sun with her, and the earth turns to ice and snow. And underneath the snow, Ostara sleeps and she waits. And when it's time to bring the sun back, it's time to bring the fire back into the land, her magical rabbits, her hares, start to dance their dance of awakening. And they drum on the earth, right? And they say, "Wake up, Ostara, it's time to bring back the springtime." And a lot of artwork throughout the old pagan traditions, you'll see Ostara being pulled on her chariot, pulled by hair. And in more New Age witchcraft traditions and in the Wiccan traditions, you'll often see that the hair is associated with witches or women who are shapeshifters, priestesses. And when the moon is full, it's said that the witches will turn into rabbits to connect back into their wild nature. So many associations with the elemental nature-based spirituality comes in with rabbits in general, but especially associated with witches. And also the black cat is associated with Ostara this time of year. So she's getting all of her kind of witchy familiars in with all of these stories around her as well. So once the rabbits start their dance of fertility and their dance of awakening, Ostara starts to crack her eyes open and she gives a big stretch and she emerges from the land with her wand, her staff of quickening. And everywhere that she goes, everywhere her chariot pulls her, she leaves a trail of buds and flowers beginning to blossom. She also brings with her her best friend, this beautiful white bird that flies with her, and the bird calls out into the sky to tell all of the other birds who have flown south for the winter to return. So she calls out, and as the bird is calling out, one of the rabbits, the biggest and strongest of the rabbits, the prince of the rabbits, if you will, begins to fall in love with the bird as she sings her song. And this rabbit begins his fervent dance, right? His dance for his beloved bird. He says, this bird is more beautiful than any of the female rabbits that I've ever seen. I love her. And she begins this wild dance to seduce and entice Ostara's magical bird. And it works. The bird falls madly in love with the rabbit, and Ostara just laughs and laughs as she's watching this interaction happen, thinking, wow, this rabbit has really gone mad. But then she realizes that her friend, the bird, has actually fallen in love with the rabbit prince as well. So, as a best friend does, supportive best friend does, she decides to turn her beloved bird into a female rabbit so that she can mate together with the male rabbit. And it's with a heavy heart that she does this, but she does let her bird go, and she uses her powers to turn her into a rabbit so that she can be with her beloved. And they begin to dance together, and Ostara, the wheel turns again, and Ostara goes back into her winter slumber. While she is asleep, she is so sad. She's mourning the loss of her friend. And the next winter, the people get very, very nervous because the winter is getting longer and longer and longer with no end in sight. So the rabbits dance their dance, and Ostara is just so sad and lonely that she stays below the ground, sleeping and mourning the loss of her friend. Finally, the rabbits get so loud that she wakes up reluctantly, and that was one of the longest winters that the people have ever experienced. So she stretches and she finally makes her way up to the surface, and she sees the rabbits doing her dance, and she sees her friend that she had turned into a rabbit, and she notices that they're dancing around a nest of feathers. And so Ostara goes over to investigate this nest of feathers, and she notices that her bird turned rabbit friend has laid some eggs. And for those of you who have seen rabbits being born before, you know that they don't not come out in eggs. They are born as mammals, right? Without shells around them. And so she's very confused, but one of the eggs begins to stir, and out pops a chick with rabbit ears. And there she is, this floppy-eared little chick. And Ostara was so tickled by this story and the sight of this little chick with its rabbit ears that she begins to laugh and brings the people a very abundant and fertile and lucrative springtime that year. So, from that point on, the people in Ostara's lands have gifted Ostara the blessing and the offering of painted eggs every year to remind her of the joy that was brought into her life by her beautiful bird-turned rabbit friend. And that is where we get the myth, the story, the magic of the Easter Bunny. And that is also why we spend our Easter time dyeing eggs. Traditionally, the eggs were dyed the color of red to signify a woman's menstrual blood, because Ostara, again, is the goddess of fertility. And many times around this time of year, even within the Jewish tradition, we celebrate Passover. This is this returning of the light back into the land, the fire back into the land. And as we're celebrating, we want to make sure that I find it very fascinating when we have all of these kind of pagan traditions that have been, overtaken into Christianity over the years because of, the Western world becoming Christianized. A lot of these pagan traditions are still found in today's world, but they're hidden, right? It's kind of like the myths of Santa Claus and the flying female shamans of the Norse. I mean, these are all kind of littered in to our current day religions as well. So when you get curious about the origins of some of these really magical things like Santa Claus or like the Easter Bunny, it's always good to do a little bit of research because there's usually some goddess magic behind them, I've found, and that's always really fascinating to me. So continue to practice these traditions. Tell these stories to your loved ones. Share them with your loved ones so that we can keep these traditions alive and keep honoring the divine feminine in the land and within yourselves. And this isn't just for women, right? Men also need to honor the divine feminine within themselves and heal that connection to the land that has been so broken over the years. And as we move forth in this new turn of the wheel, may Ostara bring her flames of transformation and healing back to our collective. And if you want to participate again in any of these equinox or goddess-centered ceremonies, spend some time dyeing eggs, right? Maybe you can paint some goddess symbols or spirals on your eggs to remind yourself of where this tradition comes from. And again, if you want to join me for a releasing ceremony on Sunday, we'll be doing a virtual fire ceremony. And the link to sign up for that is in my bio here that you can click on. And it's basically going to be a really wonderful hour-long ceremony talking about the equinox, going through some breath work and movement practices to cleanse ourselves body, mind, and spirit, followed by a fire ceremony, which will help you feel clear and balanced for the year ahead, as well as being able to focus our intentions, right? We want to focus the fire of our minds this time of year into manifesting and visioning the world that we want to see come to fruition, the world that is based in equity, in diversity, and inclusivity. So I hope you can all join us for that. And again, if you're just popping on now, we do have a certain amount of tickets reserved for our BIPOC community members. If you are wanting to attend our ceremony, we have some free tickets available for you to join us. So just DM me here and I will be happy to put you on the list as my guest. And stay tuned for our future healing ceremonies and card divinations on this page. If you're not already following our Goddess Temple page, then please follow it to keep up to date with all of the things that we are doing and creating here in our beautiful community. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I wish you so many equinox blessings of Ostara and Easter, the goddess of fertility. Blessed be. Thanks for joining me, everyone.